Some of the most beautiful things in my life are located right outside my office window. This is the Budd Bay and the Budd Inlet. That is Budd Inlet and Budd Bay. And they're located in Olympia, Washington. The Budd Bay stretches out into the great Puget Sound. Sound not to hear, but sound as in a body of water. And as I look out my office window right now, I'm just reminded of the many lessons I've learned in my life and in my counseling practice, and how I've been able to teach other people how to be mindful. Because you can learn lessons from simply observing your surroundings, just like I'm doing right now. When you observe, you can notice what changes, of course. And you can also appreciate what remains the same and what remains beautiful and stable. And you can welcome any sorts of feelings and emotions you might have that can come from the process of observation. This Budd Bay is in the heart of Olympia, Washington, right across from our state's Capitol building. And I see so many things from my viewpoint in my office. And I'm happy to share with you some of the things that I observe and the lessons that I learn. The first thing that I really noticed about this area is that the water ebbs and flows. You can see right now that there's water in the inlet and in the Budd Bay, but sometimes, especially during the summer, the bay becomes dry because it seems like there is no water at all. But now you see that the water is flowing. You see that the water is here. And the tides can change from hour to hour. It's so quick that the tides can change. And so this is a lot like emotions. Emotions flow in, and this is good. And sometimes they flow out, and that is good. Emotions are like water. They are ever flowing, and they're part of life. They are definitely part of chaos, but they're also stable in that they consistently change. Another thing I see outside of my window is what you don't see. Now I'm focusing the camera on a mountain, Mount Rainier, the great Mount Rainier that I have a view of, unless there are clouds. This mountain is still there, although you can't see it. What a wonderful metaphor for teaching. You know, how I see it is that you can believe that something exists or know that something exists, but not exactly see it in the time, such as a mountain, Mount Rainier, that is hidden behind the clouds, but especially your own potential. Sometimes you think you're looking at a blank sky, but really, beyond the clouds, there's something awesome. I've seen that mountain in so many ways, and in so many shapes, and in so many colors. It is absolutely majestic and amazing. And right now, as I look out my window, I can't see it, but I know it's there. So something else that I take from my observation out my window. Another thing I take is the ducks. I see ducks all the time in the Budd Inlet. They're right there. They are looking for food. And I love the metaphor of water off a duck's back to represent resilience. I have learned so many lessons from the ducks. In fact, they're out there even in the coldest weather, and they're doing just fine. It's because they're built that way. They're built to be protected. They're built to be resilient. And water off a duck's back is just that. When uncomfortable conditions happen, these ducks are so resilient that they can withstand it. Not only if they choose to stay in the waters, but they can actually fly away to a different climate. They, in my opinion, are probably the most resilient animals that I know of. And I welcome any input on that from other people, because maybe I'm wrong, but I see this outside my window. Another thing I see outside my window are a specific type of duck, which is called the Buffleheads. Bufflehead ducks are what I like to affectionately term tuxie ducksies, because they are tuxedo ducks. They actually are wearing tuxedos. Now, you can't really see them very well, but they're there. And they are so awesome to watch. I could probably watch these tuxie ducksies, these Buffleheads all day. What they do is they float around the inlet and they kind of travel in pairs, and then they bob their heads down and look for something, and so you don't see them, and then they pop back up and you do. It's so interesting to see where the tuxie ducksies will plop down and pop up. One of the things that I was thinking of when 2020 was coming to a close was so many things have changed, and I didn't even think the Buffleheads were going to come back, honestly. And they always come back every year because they love the cold waters. But for some reason in 2020, I thought they're not going to come back, because 2020 was a really chaotic year and everything has sort of gotten mixed up and put upside down. And I thought I probably wouldn't see them. And I was so overjoyed at about the end of November when I saw my first tuxie ducksie. And I thought, this is something that is stable and good and helpful and is still happening amongst all the chaos. And so you can count on things, good things, like Buffleheads. They do come back. They are there even during a painful year like 2020. It's just so good to see, although some things change, many things remain the same. And knowing that stability exists in some places can really help you calm your chaos. And the last thing I want to talk about, when I look out my window, the sky is constantly changing. The sky is so interesting to me. I've seen pictures and I've seen visions and I've seen darkness and I've seen light and I've seen a mixture of both. And I love using the illustration of clouds when I talk about burnout. And people sometimes, when they're under a lot of stress, they get burnt out just trying to deal with everyday life. And I love looking at the clouds and saying, yeah, mostly dark skies for you now, you're burnt out. But what we want to do is we want to help you to create more blue skies in your life. Like maybe a patch of blue at first, and then expanding, and then more interesting skies. Things, again, can change, and they can be interesting. The clouds and the sky can change, and your mood can change. And the sky is a lot like the water in that it changes, and it's not a bad thing. In fact, it's a good thing. And it helps us to learn and to grow and to have variety in our life. It's interesting. And it's what keeps life more interesting when things change. And so when we are struggling with burnout, trying to figure out how to put more blue sky into the gray, and when you see it, just think of it as more interesting. My sky is this way today, or my sky has more blue in it today than it did yesterday. It's a good way to calm your chaos. And so what's the point of this anyway? Well, I think it's because I want to encourage all of you who have graced me with listening to me and all of my chaos, just to look out your own windows and doors. Go out into the world, observe what has changed, and then pay equal time to what is beautiful, stable, and helpful in your life, like the water, the ducks, the buffleheads, the clouds, and, I might add, the people in your life who may be right in front of you, who truly love you. Please include those people in this picture. Practices like this have really helped me calm my own chaos. I really hope this helps you. Thank you so much for listening.